Right now, millions of people are stuck in a cycle they do not fully understand. Waking up tired, gaining weight even when they eat less, craving sugar late at night, and being told that insulin resistance is something they must manage forever. But here is the truth that rarely gets said clearly and calmly: insulin resistance can improve, and in many cases, it can reverse faster than most people expect, without medication and without extreme dieting. And in this video, you are going to learn 5 specific actions that directly target the root of insulin resistance, not the symptoms, not the trends, and not the myths that keep people confused and frustrated. Because most advice today pushes people to do the opposite of what actually helps, focusing only on cutting sugar, skipping meals randomly, or relying on pills while ignoring the simple daily behaviors that control insulin at a deep level. And that mistake is why so many people feel stuck for years. So if you stay until the end of this video, you will understand what insulin resistance really is in plain language, why your body may be blocking insulin even if you are eating healthy, and how small changes in timing, movement, food order, sleep, and stress can send a powerful signal to your cells to start responding again. And this matters because insulin resistance is not just about diabetes. It affects belly fat, energy levels, brain fog, hunger, mood, blood pressure, and long-term health. And once you see how all these pieces connect, the whole picture changes, because the body is not broken, it is responding to signals. And the good news is that signals can be changed. And in the next few minutes, you will hear lesser-known facts that rarely make it into short social media clips. Facts about how muscles absorb sugar without insulin, how food order can change blood sugar spikes in real time, how liquid sugar quietly overwhelms the system, and how poor sleep can undo an entire day of good eating without you realizing it. And none of this requires perfection or punishment. It requires understanding, consistency, and choosing actions that work with your biology instead of fighting it. And that is why watching this video all the way through matters, because each step builds on the one before it, and skipping one can slow everything down, while combining them creates momentum that many people feel within weeks, sometimes even days. And this is not hype or a miracle promise. It is how the human body has always worked, long before modern food and constant snacking changed the rules. So if you are tired of confusing advice, tired of feeling blamed, and tired of thinking this problem is permanent, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will know exactly what to focus on starting today, what to stop doing immediately, and how to move forward without fear or extremes. And if you care about clear, evidence-based health explained simply, welcome to our channel. This is a place for real understanding, not noise. So subscribe now and stay connected, because the information you learn here could change how your body responds for years to come. This information is shared for education only and not as personal medical advice, because every body is different and health decisions should always be made with a qualified professional who knows your history. But what you are about to hear is based on well-established research, real-world clinical observations, and consistent patterns seen across many studies, not trends or opinions. And the reason this matters is because insulin resistance is not a rare condition, and it is not a life sentence for most people. It is a state the body enters when certain signals repeat for too long. And when those signals change, the body often responds, sometimes faster than expected. And that is why lifestyle changes, supported by evidence, are so powerful here, because insulin resistance is reversible for many people, especially in its early and middle stages. And that truth is often buried under fear-based messaging that makes people feel stuck or dependent. And understanding this creates relief instead of panic, because it shifts the focus from fighting the body to working with it. And to understand how that works, It helps to strip the idea down to its simplest form because insulin is not mysterious, it is a helper hormone with a clear job. Its role is to act like a key that opens the door of your cells so sugar from your blood can move inside and be used for energy. And when everything works well, insulin knocks, the door opens, sugar goes in, and the blood stays balanced. But insulin resistance begins when those doors stop responding properly, not because insulin disappears, but because the knocking happens too often, too loudly, and for too long, and eventually the cells stop reacting the way they should. So sugar stays in the blood longer, the body releases even more insulin to compensate, and a quiet cycle begins, where higher insulin leads to more resistance, and more resistance leads to even higher insulin. And a simple way to think about it is like a phone notification that keeps buzzing all day long. At first you respond right away, then after hours of constant alerts, your brain starts ignoring them, not because the phone is broken, but because the signal never stops. And insulin resistance works in a similar way. Constant eating, constant sugar, constant stress, and constant poor sleep keep the signal high all the time, so the cells protect themselves by tuning it out. And this explanation matters because it removes blame. The body is not failing, it is adapting, but where most people get stuck is in how they try to fix it, because the most common advice focuses only on sugar. So people cut sweets, but keep eating all day long, or they replace sugar with frequent snacks that still trigger insulin, or they rely only on medication while keeping the same habits that created the problem. And medication can be helpful and even life-saving for some people, but it does not teach the cells to listen again if the signals never change. And another mistake is ignoring timing altogether, eating late at night, grazing from morning to bedtime, or skipping meals randomly without consistency, which keeps insulin elevated in unpredictable ways. And these patterns create frustration because effort does not match results, and people start to believe their body is stubborn or broken, when in reality it is receiving mixed signals. And that is why the first action that makes a real difference is not a food list, not a supplement, and not an extreme rule, but fixing meal timing. Because when you eat matters just as much as what you eat, and insulin spikes every time you eat, even with healthy food, which is normal and necessary. But problems start when spikes happen all day long, with no real breaks. So a simple and effective habit is to eat full meals instead of constant small bites, to allow clear gaps between meals so insulin can rise and then come back down. And this does not require starvation or harsh fasting. It simply means giving your body predictable windows of eating and resting, like finishing dinner earlier in the evening and avoiding late-night snacking, or spacing meals 4 to 5 hours apart when possible. And these small changes send a powerful signal to your cells that insulin does not need to stay high all the time, which helps restore sensitivity over time. And many people notice improved energy, less hunger, and more stable moods just from this shift alone, because the body finally gets a rhythm it can trust. And this sets the foundation for everything else that follows, because once timing improves, the other steps work better and faster, and the system starts to calm down instead of constantly being pushed. After establishing a solid foundation with meal timing, the next step is to pay attention to the order in which you eat your foods, because it turns out that what you put in your mouth first can dramatically influence how your blood sugar responds in the hours that follow. And this is where protein plays a starring role. Because when you eat protein before carbohydrates, it slows down the absorption of sugar, reduces the insulin spikes that follow, and keeps your energy stable instead of giving you sudden crashes that make you crave more food almost immediately. And this is not theory, but something scientists have measured consistently in clinical studies, where participants who ate protein at the start of a meal experienced lower post-meal glucose levels than those who ate the same foods in a different order. And the mechanism is simple. Protein triggers hormones that slow digestion, tells the pancreas to release insulin more gradually, and helps your cells absorb glucose more efficiently, which means that a few bites of chicken, eggs, yogurt, or beans before you reach for bread, rice, pasta, or fruit can create a noticeable difference in how your body handles sugar throughout the day. And while it seems small, repeated over multiple meals, this pattern trains your body to respond better to insulin and can reduce cravings, energy crashes, and fat storage over time. And what makes it even more approachable is that it does not require new supplements, fancy powders, or rigid food rules. It simply requires paying attention to sequence, slowing down just a little at the start of your meals, and making protein your first choice rather than your last, which is something most people never consider, because most nutrition advice focuses on quantities or types of food, not the order of consumption, and that tiny tweak alone can create a surprisingly strong ripple effect on blood sugar stability. The third action is deceptively simple yet incredibly powerful: walking after meals. And the beauty of this habit is that it does not require a gym membership, expensive equipment, or even long sessions, because even a short walk of 10 to 15 minutes immediately after eating sends signals to your muscles to start using the glucose that is now entering your bloodstream, which helps lower insulin demand and prevents it from spiking unnecessarily. And this is not just anecdotal. Studies show that post-meal movement improves insulin sensitivity, helps with digestion, reduces bloating, and can even help with mood. And the simplicity is what makes it sustainable, because the body was designed to move, and sitting idle right after eating is a modern invention that our metabolism struggles with. So by taking a brief, intentional walk around the house, down the block, or even just pacing while talking on the phone, you give your cells a chance to absorb sugar naturally, and the results compound over time, because repeated small actions are far more powerful than occasional extreme workouts that most people abandon. And this also works seamlessly with your first two steps after timing meals and eating protein first. Walking ensures that the glucose entering your system is efficiently handled, which stabilizes energy, reduces cravings, and prevents unnecessary fat storage. The fourth step requires decisiveness and clarity, cutting liquid sugar completely from your routine. And this includes sodas, sweet teas, fruit juices, energy drinks, flavored coffees, and other beverages that seem harmless but are actually one of the fastest ways to overwhelm your system with sugar, because liquids bypass the normal chewing and digestive process, enter the bloodstream almost immediately, and trigger a rapid surge of insulin, which leads to a sharp drop in blood sugar shortly after, leaving you hungry again and signaling the body to store more fat. And while many people are surprised by this, the reality is that the body processes sugar in liquid form differently than solid food, and even a small glass of juice can have the same effect as several teaspoons of sugar consumed alone. And this makes the behavioral boundary clear: no exceptions, no substitutions that have hidden sugars, because consistency is what teaches your cells to respond again. And while it may feel challenging at first, the moment you remove liquid sugar entirely, you often notice immediate improvements in energy, cravings, and mood, because the constant spikes and crashes stop. And this action does not require perfection in food choices elsewhere. It simply eliminates one of the most powerful disruptors of insulin balance that almost everyone underestimates. The fifth and final piece of the puzzle is controlling stress and improving sleep. And these two factors are deeply interconnected, because stress hormones like cortisol directly influence insulin and blood sugar, and sleep debt makes the body more resistant to insulin, increases appetite, cravings, and even changes how fat is stored. And this is why people can eat well all day and still feel hungry, gain weight, or experience energy crashes if stress and sleep are neglected. And addressing this does not mean sleeping 12 hours or eliminating stress completely, but rather implementing practical approaches like keeping a consistent sleep schedule, reducing late night screen time, taking short breaks to breathe, meditate, or walk, and avoiding high stress situations when possible, because each of these small adjustments signals to the body that the environment is safe, hormones can stabilize, and cells can respond properly to insulin. And the combination of good sleep and stress control amplifies the effects of all the other steps, because meal timing, protein order, walking, and liquid sugar restriction work far better when the body is calm, rested, and ready to respond. And the impact is not theoretical but observed in both research and personal experience, where consistent sleep and lower stress improve energy, focus, weight management, and blood sugar levels. And this holistic approach demonstrates that insulin resistance is not just about food or exercise, it is about the entire system. And when each part supports the others, the body begins to repair itself efficiently. The signals that were once ignored are heard again, and people feel more in control of their health than they have in years, because the combination of these 5 steps addresses the root causes directly, not superficially. And the best part is that they are all achievable, do not require extreme diets, expensive gadgets, or supplements, and can be adapted to fit individual lifestyles. And while it takes consistency and awareness, the payoff is substantial, because these actions together reduce insulin spikes, improve sensitivity, stabilize energy, reduce cravings, improve fat distribution, and help restore confidence and motivation. And the science behind each step is clear, supported by decades of research, and yet most people do not implement them together, which is why results are often slow or inconsistent. And understanding the interconnectedness of meal timing, protein first, walking, liquid sugar elimination, and sleep stress management provides not just a path forward, but a framework for lasting change, because the body responds to signals, and when signals are aligned, insulin resistance can reverse faster than most people ever thought possible, which is exactly why each of these actions is emphasized repeatedly in clinical guidelines and personal success stories. And while you do not need to be perfect in every area immediately, starting with even 1 or 2 of these changes today sets a powerful momentum in motion, because each positive habit reinforces the others, and the cumulative effect transforms how the body handles glucose, how energy feels throughout the day, how hunger signals behave, and ultimately how weight and health outcomes improve over time. And this is why these steps are not suggestions, but essential tools for anyone serious about reclaiming control over insulin resistance, stabilizing their blood sugar, feeling more energetic, and making changes that stick without extreme restriction, deprivation, or medication dependence. And because the process is approachable, evidence-backed, and most people experience noticeable improvement in weeks, sometimes even days, which reinforces the habit loop, strengthens motivation, and encourages further consistent action, creating a positive cycle that compounds over time. And when followed faithfully, these 5 steps form a complete lifestyle framework that addresses both the cause and the symptoms of insulin resistance, bringing measurable results while supporting overall well-being, mental clarity, and long-term health. And the beauty of it is that all 5 steps integrate seamlessly into everyday life, meaning anyone can start immediately with the knowledge and guidance provided here, observe the effects, adjust based on personal response, and continue building a routine that restores insulin sensitivity, stabilizes energy, reduces fat accumulation, lowers cravings, and enhances overall vitality. And this combination of strategies is why the reversal of insulin resistance is not only possible, but achievable for the majority of people who implement them consistently, creating a profound shift in health without the need for extreme interventions, radical restrictions, or unproven gimmicks, because the human body responds when given clear, consistent, and biologically supportive signals. It is important to remember that nothing in this process is instant magic and the body does not suddenly reset overnight. The changes take time, consistency, and repeated effort because insulin resistance developed over months or years, and while the steps outlined earlier can create noticeable effects quickly for some, the majority of progress comes from persistence, from applying these actions day after day, from paying attention to timing, protein, movement, avoiding liquid sugar, and prioritizing sleep and stress management consistently. And for some people, lifestyle changes alone may not be enough, and medical support may be necessary to safely guide improvements, monitor blood sugar, or manage underlying conditions, which is not a sign of failure but a recognition that everyone's body is unique and sometimes needs additional assistance. And acknowledging this reality is not discouraging but empowering because it sets realistic expectations, avoids frustration, and ensures safety. And understanding that insulin resistance is reversible for many people when signals are managed correctly is part of taking control without relying on fear or extremes, and knowing when to seek help makes the journey smarter and more effective, allowing the body to respond optimally without unnecessary risk. And it also underscores the importance of listening to your own signals, tracking energy levels, observing cravings, paying attention to how clothes fit, monitoring mental clarity, and noticing mood patterns, because these real-world signs often reveal how well the body is adapting to the changes. And when you integrate these observations into daily practice, you begin to see patterns that reinforce the actions you take, making improvement more predictable and measurable, which is encouraging and motivating. And it also emphasizes that success is not about perfection. It is about consistency, persistence, and awareness, which is why even small steps repeated daily create momentum far greater than occasional extreme efforts. And the body begins to reward this pattern by responding more efficiently to insulin, by stabilizing blood sugar, reducing belly fat, calming constant hunger, and improving energy levels throughout the day. And this brings us to the people who will benefit most from these strategies, because while anyone can improve their insulin sensitivity to some degree, those with prediabetes, noticeable belly fat, persistent hunger despite eating, energy crashes in the middle of the day, difficulty concentrating, or frustration with failed diets will feel the impact most immediately. And this is not just about weight or appearance. It is about reclaiming control over your own metabolism, energy, mood, and long-term health. And when these steps are applied consistently, the difference is noticeable not only in measurements, but in how daily life feels. The brain works better, cravings decrease, energy remains more stable from morning to night, and there is a growing sense of control and empowerment that is often missing when people rely only on external solutions like medication or fad diets. And because the steps are simple, actionable, and evidence-backed, anyone can begin immediately without waiting for special equipment, expensive foods, or complex routines, which makes implementation practical and sustainable. And this leads naturally to the next step, which is not about doing everything at once but choosing one action to begin today, because starting small, focusing on a single step, and observing the body's response is far more effective than overwhelming yourself with everything at once. And it is in that initial action that momentum begins to build, creating a foundation for all the other steps to work synergistically over time. And once you take that first step, you can watch how your body reacts, notice improvements, feel encouraged, and adjust the other steps naturally in a way that fits your lifestyle. And this is why engagement is so important, because your experience matters, your questions matter, and sharing your progress, asking which step you started with, or even commenting about challenges or successes can help create a sense of accountability, motivation, and community, which strengthens adherence and keeps momentum going. And this is also why it is important to like, subscribe, and share this content, not just as a routine, but because each interaction signals that these ideas are valuable, encourages more content like this to be created, and ensures that other people who struggle with the same challenges can benefit, because the knowledge of how to stabilize insulin, manage blood sugar, reduce energy crashes, and reverse insulin resistance is powerful, and it should reach as many people as possible. And by taking action today, choosing one step, observing results, and engaging with others, you are creating a practical, actionable, and sustainable approach to improving your health, reclaiming energy, and reshaping how your body responds to food, stress, and lifestyle. And even small improvements compound over time, because consistency and repetition reinforce positive cellular signaling, stabilize blood sugar, regulate appetite, and improve metabolic efficiency. And when you combine these small changes with awareness of your own habits, you begin to see a transformation not only in measurements, but in confidence, energy, mental clarity, and motivation. And this is where the power of simple, evidence-based, realistic strategies shines, because they integrate seamlessly into everyday life, avoid extreme restrictions or complex rules, and respect the way the body naturally works, creating an approach that is manageable, sustainable, and effective. And by applying these strategies, starting with one step today, monitoring how your body responds, engaging with the process, and building momentum gradually, anyone can begin to experience noticeable improvements in insulin sensitivity, energy stability, hunger regulation, fat storage, and overall health. This is why the combination of credible practical action, consistency, personal connection, and engagement forms the most powerful framework for change, because it respects reality, acknowledges the need for some people to seek medical support, highlights who benefits most, and encourages immediate simple action that compounds over time. And when all of these elements come together, the body begins to respond efficiently, results become noticeable, and the motivation to continue grows strong, creating a rich cycle of improvement, learning, and sustainable lifestyle change. And that cycle begins the moment you decide to take one step today. Notice the effects, share your experience, and keep building on it, because even one consistent habit can set the foundation for profound improvements over months and years. And this approach transforms the way insulin resistance is managed, by focusing on real signals, evidence-based actions, consistency, awareness, and engagement, rather than hype, extreme, or unrealistic promises. And it works because it respects the body's natural rhythms, responds to the underlying causes, and empowers you to take control in a practical, achievable, and sustainable way, while creating personal insight, confidence, and measurable improvement in metabolic health and overall metabolic health. And this is why starting with a single action today, observing the response, commenting on progress, and engaging with content that reinforces understanding, motivation, and practical strategy, creates a powerful feedback loop that transforms not only health outcomes but motivation and long-term. Change does not happen in isolation. It happens in a system that includes consistent action, feedback, observation, and connection. And when you embrace this approach, you begin a journey that is grounded, credible, effective, and accessible to anyone willing to take the first step, which is exactly why these steps are designed to be simple, actionable, measurable, and synergistic. producing real-world results over time and allowing you to see progress, gain confidence, and feel in control of your health while gradually reversing insulin resistance, stabilizing energy, reducing cravings, improving fat distribution, and supporting long-term well-being. And the process begins the moment you commit to that first step. Engage with the system, notice your body's response, share your experience, and build on momentum consistently, because each small, consistent action compounds into lasting improvements that transform energy and life. And that is the reality of reversing insulin resistance in a practical, evidence-based, and achievable way that anyone can begin today by taking one simple step, observing the effect, and continue with consistency, awareness, and engagement, creating a pathway to sustainable, measurable, and life-changing results that improve energy, metabolism, appetite control, mood, confidence, and overall health. And that is why starting today, choosing one step, participating in the process, commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing is not just recommended, it is the most powerful way to activate momentum that leads to transformation. And that momentum grows, compounds, and reinforces itself as the body begins to respond. Signals normalize, insulin sensitivity, improve energy, stable is hungry, is reduced, fat storage is minimized, mood improves, and lifestyle shifts from reactive and confusing to proactive, controlled, and confident. And that is the full scope of why practical, consistent, evidence-based actions taken today create profound change that builds naturally, sustainably, and measurably over time. And that cycle of improvement starts with one step, continues with observation, engaging, and reinforcement, and compounds into long-term results that reverse insulin resistance, improve energy, reduce cravings, and optimize health in a real, sustainable, and achievable way. If you found these 5 steps helpful and want to take your progress even further, in the next video we will explore the best ways to naturally lower blood sugar throughout the day and prevent energy crashes, uncovering simple strategies that most people overlook but can make a huge difference in how your body responds to insulin. So make sure you don't miss it. Hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and like this video to stay updated. And if you found these tips useful, share this video with someone who needs it, because taking even one action today can start a chain reaction toward better energy, balanced blood sugar, and improved health. And the next video will give you more tools to keep the momentum going and feel in control of your metabolism every single day.